Well, here we are again. Another war, another conflict. And I've heard a lot of people talk about how this may fulfill scripture, how this may fulfill prophecy, all of those things. A lot of people are talking about that right now and what it means. But if we look at what the scripture actually says in Isaiah 55, it says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts." And so this is what I would have to say about this, is all throughout Scripture, we see God using the preeminent superpower on the earth as his instrument of judgment. So are we seeing Iran undergo judgment right now? It's a very good possibility, but we'll have to wait until it's all over to be able to render a verdict. So I'm going to give you some examples here that we can find throughout the Bible. So in Isaiah 10 and 2 Kings 17, we have Assyria being used as God's instrument of judgment upon Israel. And this would be specifically the northern kingdom. Then we have Assyria being used to judge the surrounding nations, and this takes place in Isaiah 14 and 20. So the Assyria was used to bring judgment against Aram, Philistia, Moab, Cush, and Egypt. Then we've got Babylon judging Judah, being used as the instrument to judge Judah. And you can find this in Jeremiah chapter 25, Habakkuk 1, 2 Kings 24. Then we've got Babylon being used again to judge all of the other nations. So you've got Egypt, Philistia, Moab, Ammon, Edom, Damascus, Kedar, Elam, and others. And you can find this in Jeremiah 46. What's the point? Well, the point is that whether we like it or not, God often uses the superpower as his rod of justice. We find this all throughout Scripture. I mean, these are just a couple of examples. But the point is that what if we disagree, right? What if we disagree with this war in Iran? And it is God using the United States as his rod of justice for Iran and the Iranian people. What if that's the case? Well, if you found yourself living in Israel at the time that Babylon was used to judge Israel, or if you found yourself in Israel as Rome was used to judge Israel much later in 70 AD, if you didn't like that, you disagreed with it, well, we can be in some trouble because you can inadvertently find yourself against the judgment of God and against his plan and against his purpose. So if you turn on the news, everybody has their opinion about what's happening on the ground in Iran and the U.S. political situation and what that all looks like and what it means, and their opinions on that. But I don't see anybody really thinking about it biblically. They're thinking about it in terms of, does this fulfill this prophecy, or what about this prophecy? But that's the funny thing about prophecy, is you don't know if it's fulfilled until after the fact. And so, with all that said, I think probably the wise thing to do would be to observe what's taking place and think about it in this way, the way that I just prescribed here, because any other way, and if you form opinions too quickly, you can inadvertently find yourself, sort of fighting against the will of God. If this is the will of God, which it appears to me that it probably is, because this is how he has used superpowers and empires historically. And you can find all of that proof that you need in the pages of the Old Testament primarily. So until next time, guys, y'all be blessed.